All right, Bruchim Aboyim. Welcome everyone. It is Friday. We try our best to learn a little bit of the Kedushas Levi today. I was shopping today. My wife called me. She said it's not Kedushas Levi. I'm sorry. Friday we learned from the Heilige. We learned Kedushas Levi yesterday. Watch that video. We learned from the Heilige Zeit of the Maharal Miprax. Anyway. My wife called me. I was at Weiss Market in Homestead, Pennsylvania, and she says, an emergency, we need 55-gallon trash bags. I looked at the trash bags there, the biggest were 45-gallon. I was like, I gotta go across the street to Walmart. Then I saw there was a Harbor Freight store that just opened over there. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go into Harbor Freight. I fully expected to hear Keith Foskey's Your Calvinist podcast theme song. Cannot say I was not disappointed, though. Did not hear it, but those probably, if I would have been there 5 minutes earlier, probably would have heard it. Anyway, we're in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe v'laharon le'mor, and the Lord spoke unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, it was a good shame. Zos Chukas HaTorah asher tzivo Adonai le'mor daber al b'nei Yisrael v'ikchu elecha farad dumah tmima asher ein b'hamum asher le'aleha ol. The Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron, saying, this is the statute of the law of the Torah, which the Lord hath commanded, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and ye shall take unto thee a red heifer that is perfect, that has no blemish, that never had a yoke upon it. So Rashi Macht, I once saw a book like about Yiddish, and it says it's traditional to say Rashi Macht. I never heard that. I just saw it in the book once. It was a secular book. But Rashi says, has anybody ever hear anyone say Rashi Macht? I don't know where that came from, and I don't even remember which book it was. It wasn't one of Leo Rostin's books. It was one of these other books they took out of the library about Yiddish, Anyway, Zos Chukas Torah, Rashi says, Lefisha Satan v'umas olam moninus Yisrael, because the Satan and the heathen nations of the world are kind of bullying the Israelites. Lomama mitzvah hazos. What is this mitzvah? Matam yeshba. What reason is there for it? Lefichach, therefore, ksav b'chuka. That's why it's written there that it is a statute, which means that there's no reason for it. It's just merely statutory. Zerahim ulefanai. It is a decree from before me, says God. Ein lecha rishus lahar acharaha, and you don't have any permission to think after it. I don't remember if it was the Kedushas Levi or the Noam Elimelech who says that actually we know the reason for this mitzvah is to clean up the sin of the golden calf. That we would not have been mortal beings anymore if not for the sin of the golden calf. We were restored to the state before the original sin, where we were immortal. In Judaism, we don't believe original sin damns people to hell, but it does make people mortal. So we say there's certain people who lived sinless lives, like Yishai, Jesse, the father of David, of David HaMelech, and he only died because of the advice of the serpent, meaning because of the original sin, and that is. We don't believe, as the Christians believe, that everyone's going to hell because of the original sin. We do believe that people die because of the original sin, and that's enough of a punishment for most sins. Is death, and we attain a lot of atonement through our own deaths. We do teach a person should make a deathbed confession. Everyone should make a deathbed confession, not just people who didn't live religious lives. People who live religious lives also have a lot of sins they have to atone for. And we say, Tehei misasi kapara l'chol chatoisai. We ask that our death should be atonement for all of our sins. But nonetheless, the Satan and the heathens like to make fun of the Jews by reminding us, and bully the Jews by reminding us of the sin of the golden calf. And again, I think it was Levi, probably in Parshas Parah, who said that no, you don't have any permission to think after this. It's just a gezerah. It has nothing to do with the sin of the golden calf, even though it says that the mother should come and clean up the mess that her son, meaning the cow, should clean up the mess of the calf. Nonetheless, it's not for the Satan or for the heathens to bully us about the sin of the golden calf. All right. Anyway, that's a little bit off the subject. Let's go to the Heilige Zayt of the Maharal in Prague. My holy ancestor, the Maharal. So there's a Gemara in Yoma, a Talmud passage, Yoma, page 67b. So this is the explanation, meaning that's where that's the source for what Rashi's saying. Why is this brought up here? Because otherwise, why is it written that this is the statute of the law of the Torah instead of Zos Chukas HaTorah? Because there are other places where the word chok is used, where the word statute is used, chukim and mishpatim. So afal gavdim etzanu b'makoymes harben lashon chuka, meaning there are other places throughout the Torah where it says a chok, it says chuka, it says a statute. Kamay chukas HaPesach. A good example would be Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. This is the statute of the Passover, meaning of the Paschal Lamb. In Leviticus chapter 18, verse 5, it says, you should keep my statutes and my laws, my Torahs. Baharbe Mekoimis. There's many other places throughout Scripture where you have the word chok. But this is the only place where it says Zos Chukas HaTorah, that this is the chok, this is the statute of the Torah, meaning it would seem that it is something archetypical in the mitzvah of the red heifer that encapsulates all of the Torah, that is an archetypical representation of the entirety in a holistic sense of the Torah. Rak kan shekosav chukas HaTorah. It's only here where it's written the statute of the Torah, of the law. Everywhere else, the word chukas is connected directly to that particular mitzvah when it's mentioned on a particular mitzvah, not when it's general chukosai, my statutes, but when there's a specific teaching. It's saying here, like we said, Zos Chukas HaPesach, right? So we would have thought here it says Zos Chukas HaPorah, right? But no, it says Zos Chukas HaTorah. There's something archetypical and general about this. Vatamhu. So the reason why this particular mitzvah is labeled as Chukas HaTorah, as the statute of the law, of the Torah, of the generality of the Torah, ki mitzvah specias a mitzvah ein tzarech adam ladas tam a mitzvah klal. Because the answer is, when you do a mitzvah, a person does not need to know the reason for the mitzvah at all. Rak asiyasa bilvad. All he has to know is how to do it. You don't need to know why God said to put on tefillin. You just need to know how to put on tefillin. You don't need to know even why we have to eat matzah, even though it says a reason. You just have to know that we eat matzah. I always say that Passover is not the 4th of July. It's not something that human beings decided. And all right, we have 4th of July, you put out fireworks because of the rocket's red glare. I know that's not exactly why, whatever it is. But on the other hand, so we don't eat the matzah on Passover because the bread didn't have what to rise. We eat the matzah on Passover because God said so. Now, maybe God said so because the bread had to rise, but there's other reasons too, because the bread didn't rise. But nonetheless, we do it because God said so. And so I remember when I was a kid, I would always get a new fresh Baal Tshuva, and I was very excited about Yiddishkeit. I would always get upset. So why is it in the Daily News, in the Newsday, in the New York Times, there's an article about Passover? It's like, oh, we eat the matzah because there wasn't enough time for the dough to rise. They left so quickly. No, we do it because God said so. And that's really what all the Torah is. So the whole mitzvah, meaning you do the mitzvah and you have in mind that it's a devotion to God. You say a bracha, you say l'shem yichud, whatever it is. You have a kavanah that it's l'shem mitzvah, but there's a whole question, mitzvah tzrichas kavanah olav. It might not even need to have kavanah. It might be just enough that you do it. You don't need to know why. But vein bo shum limud. Not only that, you don't even need to learn a lesson from doing the mitzvah. You just have to do it. Rabbi Bar Tzadok talks a lot about this idea, and it's something that I am kind of chaylik with him on. But here is supporting his view, which is the standard view, is that Judaism is more concerned with what you do than what you believe. Right? That we're an action of deed and we're a religion of deed and not a religion of creed. The thing is, most of the people who lack creed also lack the deed. I still argue, nonetheless, that when you look at Parak HaChelek in Sanhedrin, when it lists the people who lose their share in Olam Haba, people who lose their share, the Jews who lose their share in the next world, it's all heresy issues. So theology and belief is indeed important to Judaism. You do have to believe in God. You have to believe there's only one God. You have to believe that the God gave the Torah. All these things you do, and you also have to believe in the eschatology. Meaning the 13 principles of faith are the dogmas of Judaism, and someone who is a heretic loses his share in Olam Haba. So if that's what you're concerned about, then theology is important. I think the bigger message that Rabbi Bar Tzadok is bringing out is that we're not walking around caring about that much about our afterlife, and God is not really concerned that much about our afterlife. That's something for God to take care of anyway. What he's concerned about, and when he created this world and he gave us free will, is that we make the right decisions and live in the right way. And yes, one of those decisions is having the right theology, but nonetheless, we have to make the right decisions and live the right way, because ultimately all of these things are by God's grace, and it's God's gift to us. We're not doing God any favors by our piety. We're doing ourselves a favor by our piety, which includes having the proper theology and the proper ideology and the proper beliefs. But nonetheless, if you perform a mitzvah without learning any ethical lesson from it, you take some leather straps, and there's scripture inside there. You don't even open it up and read the scripture, although it's traditional to read it from a book, but we don't open the tefillin, right? We don't even know what's in there until we bring it to the sofer and he shows us, right? And if he even shows us or he just checks it, whatever, you're putting the tefillin on. That's enough. You're wearing tzitzis. It's enough. You don't need to have any lesson from it, you did the mitzvah. Rakasi is greater. Apal gab delo yadashim davar. You don't know anything. You could be totally ignorant. A mitzvah nasa shapir. You still did the mitzvah, right? You find a Jew, you put tefillin on him, he did a mitzvah. Aval, but Torah lo shaykh lashon chuka. But by the Torah, meaning Torah study, you can't. That doesn't work the same way. Ki b'Torah shaykh limud, because the whole idea of studying Torah is you should learn something, right? We all know Rabbi Nachman says that you should just read the words, but he doesn't see that as the ideal. He just sees that as a recognition of advice of how to accomplish Torah learning, because the truth of the matter is, at least after a while, if you do that, if you read through the Mishnayos, you read through the Gemara, you read through the Tanakh, eventually you're going to understand it. I can't imagine. You're going to get something out of it. Even you just reading Hebrew, you're going to learn the language, and you're going to pick it up, you know. And certainly someone who does understand the language, for sure, is going to pick up teachings. And if you don't understand, read it in the Hebrew, read it in the English or Spanish or French or Russian, whatever language you speak. You're going to pick it up. It's not that difficult. You're going to eventually, it just takes the effort to put it in, to say the words. You're going to pick it up. Rabbi Victor Miller's Chassid Galeno, he used to, when he would give a Gemara shir, he would tell the Balabatim, now I want you to just read the words. Say the words yourself. Right. We know Shomea Ka'ona. It's not necessarily to do so, but to get the person active. And by doing that, he's going to pick up the words. The Balabatim are going to become B'nai Torah through that. And Rabbi Victor Miller made a lot of Balabatim into B'nai Torah. And that was the way he did it. So this is, Rabbi Nachman says, just say the words. And the L'maisa and Ma'izeda, the Chavos Yor, also said, if, when a person, he finishes davening, he should, in the Shulchan Aruch it says, he finished davening, you should go to the Besmedrash. If you don't know how to learn, you sit and say the words. You're going to pick it up. That's the reason why all the tzaddikim who said that, it's not because that's the be all and end all, but rather that's what's going to get you to understand it. So, because I remember my Rosh Yeshiva was very upset when I mentioned Reb Nachman Breslover, my Rosh Yeshiva Sukkot of Rabbi Abba Braunspiegel, and he said, the Baal Tanya was also a Chassidish Rebbe. And the Baal Tanya said that you have to understand the words in Hilchos Talmud Torah. So it seems that Rabbi Nachman and the Baal Tanya, who were friends, disagreed. Sof kol sof, and of course the Baal Tanya was also an Einikal from Maharal. When he said Rabbeinu Vavosenu, when he said Rabbeinu, he meant the Magid and the Baal Shem Tov and Kaddish, and he said Avosenu, he meant the Maharal. The Maharal was very influential to the Baal Tanya and to Chassidus in general, to the point where some historians say that really the Hasidic movement really started with the Maharal. It just and more than starting with the Baal Shem Tov, it became a movement, meaning the derech of Hasidus as a genre of Torah seems to come from the Maharal, and that even though in a way that derech existed even earlier, you see in the Rishonim such a derech, and the thing is like the Chavos Yor, he makes reference to Kisvei Kodesh Shali, which I imagine is like a parish he had on Chumash, on Parsha, that would be more like a Hasidic derech, but unfortunately it's never been published. I don't know if there's manuscripts around. I wish someday. I did publish the Chavos Yor, self-published, the Chavos Yor in 2 volumes, both softcover and hardcover. The hardcover, unfortunately, to do Hebrew hardcover on Amazon, you cannot have page numbers. Or you can have the page numbers backwards. But softcover you can. So, just letting you all know that if you do buy my copy of the Chavos Yor or my copy of the Kedushas Levi, the full-size Kedushas Levi has no, the hardcover version has no page numbers. The same thing, the hardcover Bencher has no page numbers. Just letting you know, so you shouldn't be surprised. As opposed to the softcover, they have page numbers and the table of contents. So, anyway, the point is keep Torah shaykh limit. You have to. Torah is about learning. Okay, you can learn. Sometimes you don't get all the words. You say those words and you get through it, and the next time you'll get it, and eventually, in Olam Haba, you'll get it. You'll get to, you know, Mirz Hashem. I hope to be zoiche that, you know, the fact that I'm learning from the Maharal here, when I get to Olam Haba, Bezos Hashem Yisbarach, I'll get to go sit in the shir and hear a drasha from the Zayt of the Maharal. Or I learn the Chavos Yor, and sometimes I don't understand, especially in the Shalos and Shuvas, what he's saying, but I put in the effort to say the words. I look forward to, in Olam Haba, to go hear a drasha, to hear a shir, maybe even sit and learn with the Zayda, the Chavos Yor. Especially I put so much of a devotion to the Chavos Yor. I really hope that I'll get to learn with him. And all the tzaddikim, Kedushas Levi, and the Rebbe Melech, if I get to go, I can't imagine that I'll be able to sit with the Chavrusa, with the Kedushas Levi or the Rebbe Melech, but I do hope at least I'll get to go to a Tish, you know. But you know, and the same thing, the Maharal, I can't imagine that I would get to learn the Chavrusa with the Maharal. But I hope the Chavos Yor, even though the Maharal is also a Zayda, but like the Chavos Yor, I love him so much. I hope he'll give me a few minutes to learn the Chavrusa. But anyway, let's even though I don't have a shir on the Chavos Yor, but I hope, or at least we'll bring a little bit together. He'll give me some time, because it's a Zayda I love so much. I hope I'll be able to be zoicha to such a thing, and also to all the people, you know, that we've lost. You know, it's been years since I saw Rav Moshe Wolfson, or the Kleiner Rebbe, or the Pittsburgher Rebbe, or the Kosovo Rebbe. Now they're not here anymore, but I had devotions to them in their lifetime, and I hope to be able to see them again in Olam Haba. I don't know if I'll be zoicha or not, but the Chavos Yor, it's, you know, I put in such an effort to make a kesher with that Zayda. I hope. All right, I'm really off the subject. Anyway, in Kain Lamakosav says Chukas Torah. So the Torah cannot be a chok unless we follow, I guess, Rabbi Nachman, and also the Chavos Yor. Anyway, lefichach teretz, lefisha satan v'masa olam. So that's why Rashi has to say, because of the Satan and the heathens. Kach kosav Torah lashon Chukas l'umay l'chosh af Torah Chukas. That teaches us that Rabbi Nachman is right. Even by Torah, you can have such a thing where you don't understand, and it's just some kind of a psychological archetype and a devotion that there's really no way to really understand it intellectually. I remember Rabbi Weinberger told us on side, he said that that's what it means, the Pnimius Torah. That Pnimius Torah involves a connection to the Torah that is that is emotional and not intellectual. Torah shall paradum, and you should not think after the teaching of the red heifer. You just accept it. The hadich sib Parshas Matos, and that's what's written in Parshas Matos. This Chukas Torah sher tziva Hashem es Moshe. This is the statute of the Torah which the Lord commanded Moses. Esel Klei Midian also says so. Chukas Torah by the vessels of the Midianites. Manisha Lazar Labalu Maitar Yisrael, because the Lazar didn't come to teach Torah to the Jews. Only to teach concerning the deed that was at that time. And since that was for a teaching, it didn't need a reason. That's why it says the statute of the law. That you just do it, you don't need a reason. Just do what I say. Binami Hasam Divrei Elazar, and there's the words of Elazar, the son of Aaron, the high priest. And therefore, by Elazar could be a chok she'ein adam tzarech ladas Torah b'tam shala, because the person doesn't really need to know the reason for the Torah. Lefichav kosav chukas Torah. That's why it's written, the statute of the law. Aval it says Shem yisparach leishach chukas Torah, but by Hashem it doesn't. We don't have such a thing of the statute of the law l'drasha asa. But this comes for this homily v'afal gavda minim medrash ki l'Moshe Rabbeinu olav shalom. Even though the Medrash says that God revealed the reason of the red heifer to Moses, but since this reason was not revealed to all the Israelites, so Torah Yisrael and the Torah was given to the Israelites, as it says, it's written in Deuteronomy 33:4 that Moses commanded us a Torah, and this is in Deuteronomy 4:44. This is the Torah that was placed in front of the children of Israel, Shaykh Shaper Chukas Torah. Then it could say the statute of the law. Let's pause here and we'll continue. Sorry, I wanted some Shlibovitz. So anyway, I went to the liquor store and had a little trouble finding it, but I found it. It was in the back. But helps when I have a toothache. Something like that. And I also got some of these Stock's apple cider, which is pretty good. Anyway, let's get back to learning. So then why is it written concerning the red heifer? It is a decree from before me. What does that mean? Aren't all of the commandments decrees from the divine source of blessing? Because I'm reading about Aryeh. It says in it's a Gemara in the last chapter of Brachos. Actually, Mishnah, that if someone would say a prayer and they invoke God's mercy by saying, you even extend your mercy to a bird's nest, right? Because we say that you can't take a mother bird with the babies. And why? Because you might understand that to mean that that you're taking advantage of the maternal instinct, that the mother is going to want to protect the babies. So, therefore, the maternal instinct would help you catch the mother bird, right? So you have to send away the mother bird if you're going to take the eggs. So you would understand that if you would hear that. It even seems some safer, something along those lines. That's the reason for the mitzvah of the Shluach HaKan, is that it's God's mercy on the mother bird. But if someone expresses themselves that way, Mishat can I say, we shut him up. Because he turns God's divine attributes, which we can understand midos of, to be an expression of how would I say it, of a Jungian archetype. So the point of the mitzvahs is archetypical, and you shouldn't express that God's attributes, which are archetypical, are merely mercy, because all they are decrees from God. If that's the case, kulam gzeirosheim. So then all the mitzvos are gezeros. They're all decrees with milafnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they come from the Holy One, blessed be He. That's kushas re'im, right? And of course the Maharal is always arguing against the re'im. Ein perish yu gezeres bli tam. So the Maharal explains, he emphasizes the re'im, that these are not, when it says that they are decrees, it doesn't mean that they have no reason. Rambam Zal, as Maimonides seems to say in the Mar Nevuchim. This is not the case. Elohim gzerus sheyesh b'hem tam. But rather, they are decrees that have a reason. Umashanikru gzeros, and not that they're called decrees. Achshesh l'chol achas tam. They are called decrees because they have a reason. Hainu shelo yorma adam shem shel rachamim. However, you shouldn't say that it's just mercy, because God can extend His mercy without us, right? Shekadosh Baruch Hu racham l'brias v'oisadavar l'rachamim. That God has mercy on His creatures. He does something out of mercy. Ze'eno. That's not what this is about. Not that it's not true, but that's not what it's about. Shehatorah shenasna l'Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah, the law, that the divine source of blessing that the Holy One, blessed be He, gave to us, kol davar b'midas hadin. It's not an attribute of mercy. Rather, everything is an attribute of justice, strict justice. Shekach ne'sin lasos. It wasn't merciful. It's not because out of mercy that we don't. Oh my gosh! I don't want to hit this girl, but I don't want to see how she's dressed. That's, oh my God. That's disgusting. How do you walk around like that? I understand you're swimming, you put on a robe or something when you're walking. It's disgusting. So, especially I'm in the middle of learning. Oh my goodness. So, anyway, the this is what the strict judgment is to do. Meaning, it's not that we're merciful that we don't take the mother bird. That's the right thing to do. It's not mercy. Mercy means something that's not deserved. But no, the right thing to do is not to take advantage of a bird or anybody. If you don't take advantage of a bird, for sure you don't take advantage of a human being. Ve'enu mishum rachmanis. So therefore, when we're saying that it's not God's mercy that we don't take the mother bird with the baby bird, It's because it's not God's mercy, it's God's justice that we don't take the mother bird with the baby bird. And again, we say when a person has to give alms, that's not charity, meiser. When we give a tithe, and all kinds of kindness that we do. These commandments are attributes of justice. That's why you call it tzedakah, tzedek. We don't call it racham. We don't say rachamim tirdof. We say tzedek tirdof, because it's about it's justice. It's like they call social justice, but it's the real social justice, not the nonsense that the Tikkun Olam maniacs made up. Einam rachmim. This isn't about mercy. Kimasha chayva Torah b'tzedakah of a meiser. The fact that the Torah commands us and obligates us to distribute alms and give tithes. Shekena adam mitzadshu adam chayv shiten meiser. A person, because of himself, he needs to give the tithe. It's not that even for the person receiving the tithe as much as the person giving the tithe. It's a mitzvah. Kadei sheyeh hadam nefesh tov v'lo yeh nefesh ra. It teaches a person to be charitable and not to be greedy, to be good and kind and not to be evil and stingy and greedy. If that's the case, Mashad Sifsa Torah. So this that the Torah commanded with the decree of the divine, al mekayim mitzvah, that is upon the one who fulfills the mitzvah, not the one who benefits from it, who benefits materially from it. Meaning, when you give tzedakah, you are benefiting more than the person who's receiving the tzedakah. Don't look at the poor person in chayruach. She mitzvahs al nesinas and tzedakah kadei sheyeh misparnes ani. Don't think that you're giving tzedakah to take care of the poor person. No. Say, no, that's not what it's about. God can take care of the poor person. Sheina mitzvah loisa mitzvah. Rather, it's for the person who's doing the mitzvah. You know, there was a movie, it was a Christian movie called Heavens Above. Peter Sellers, he played a Anglican priest, and he accidentally was reassigned from being a prison chaplain. So I know what that's like. I don't want to be reassigned, but you know that's what happens when you have a whole bishopric and everything. The archdeacon made a mistake. He meant another person with the same name, and he sent Peter Sellers, who was a prison chaplain, to be the parish priest of a what do you call it? Oh my gosh. Of what do they call it? I gotta move the camera. Of this little town. And you know, people come to the country to get away from that stuff, and it's worse here than it was in the city. Anyway, and I live here all the time. Anyway, the archdeacon comes and says, you know, you don't belong in this town. We're going to reassign you. And he said, no, God assigned me here. You didn't make a mistake. God put me here because I need to be here. And one of the things he was doing was all kinds of charitable programs. The whole town was run by this one rich family who owned a pharmaceutical company. And he convinced the matriarch of this family to do all kinds of charitable programs. And they said, you know, we don't need this here in England. We have a welfare state. And he said, I'm not doing this to take care of the poor people. I'm doing this because I'm concerned with this rich woman for her soul. You know, and in the Christian Bible, it says it's harder for a rich person to get into the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to go through the eye of the needle. And they explain it doesn't mean actual eye of the needle. It's a certain place in Jerusalem. It's possible for a camel to get through, but it's a lot of work, and you have to be very careful. You don't want to hit the walls, because it's very narrow walls. And And then the archdeacon is like, oh, well, we interpret that differently, But that's the point, is that that's a universal idea just because it happens to be a Christian movie. It's the point we bring out. It's a good movie to see. Heavens Above. Peter Sellers is always great, but especially his early work. But anyway, let's finish this up. The benefit comes more to the person performing the mitzvah. Aval mitzvahs asher nasan lanu kadosh baruch hu kulam heim l'te'elos mekayim mitzvah. Meaning, the purpose of the mitzvah is for the person who's fulfilling the mitzvah, not the person who is receiving the material benefit of the mitzvah. And that's why they're all decrees of oisim shem rachamim, even that they seem to be merciful, they're actually justice. V'zeu she'amar that's what Chazal is telling us, what the sages are informing us when they say that if someone says liturgically or in a personal prayer that the mitzvah of the Shluach HaKan represents God's mercy even to birds, and so therefore God should have mercy on us just like he has mercy on the birds, which is true. God does have mercy on all the creatures. V'rachmav al kol ma'asav, it says in the Psalms, his mercy is on all his creatures. So that's certainly true, but we don't say that the mitzvah is about the mercy on the bird, but rather the justice on us. Because God commanded these things out of justice and not out of mercy. God says in Isaiah 66 verse 2, and don't look to the poor and the impoverished in spirit. God helps the poor. So it's not that, again, God isn't commanding us to sustain the poor in order to have mercy on the poor person. That's not the case, even though it's true. But that's not the point. That God helps the poor and has mercy. God is the one who's having mercy, and not us. We're not being merciful to the poor. We are being just to the poor by giving them the charity, the alms, the tzedakah. So yes, God has mercy on the poor, but God commanded us by the archetypical attribute of justice that we should follow his ways. It says in Deuteronomy 28 verse 9, that's from God's decree on a person. God didn't give the commandments to the Israelites because of mercy on the creatures, but rather because of decrees. And for sure there's a reason for every mitzvah. So this is a proper explanation of this statement, of this discourse with Parshas Ramban, but Parshas Tetzei. Nachmanides writes this in his commentary on Deuteronomy 22 verse 6. Ayin Sham, look there. Rak Shehu Shina Buksas Perusha, but he changed it. He has a little bit different approach, but this approach is proper for the one who understands. Thank you for watching. Sorry it was so long. Yesterday we did a really short Kedushas Levi, and today we usually do a short Maharal. Yes, today we did a long Maharal, but it's Friday in the summer, and we have time. I still have to finish my other learning and get ready for Shabbos and other things, but thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. Love you guys. We'll see you later. All right, how do I turn this thing off?